You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And my outfit is by Habil Scrutera. You can find them at Ajuringano, opposite Villa David Estate. They give you the most exquisite kaftans. That's where you get it. You can always call them 0200 84 1988. 0200 84 1988. You can look for Habil Scrutera on any of their social media handles. Just check it and you see them. The show is also brought to you by the kindest courtesy of Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating entrepreneurial and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, dial star 165 hash on MTN to join today. My Way. Syntax stance is strong, it's tough. Activa International Insurance, our clients, our passion. International Facilities Management Association, they're proud to be associated with your most authoritative news analysis platform, Newsfile. Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature, is the best place to be the coming holiday season. Valex Lease, your affordable document management solutions. And my guests who have been helping us do the discussion in the studio have been Suleiman Abrahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. Richard Ahiagba is Director of Communications of the NPP. Sharif Mahmoud Khalid is Economic Advisor to the Vice President. Okay, and we have on Zoom Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, Democracy and Development Fellow, CDD, and Project Director of the Democracy Project. Now let's get to the Office of Special Prosecutor. He had a few things to say. A few things. He gave a speech or a presentation in excess of 50 pages, almost 1 hour, 40 minutes. That appeared to have been the most extensive, well-coordinated investigations to be done on the SML. Or almost a dozen or over a dozen entities, state entities that supported them to do all of it up to this point. And as we understand, they have saved 1.25 billion and are chasing 125 million Ghana cedis. Ken Ofori-Atta has been named as the chief promoter, patron, and sponsor of that criminal deal of the SML. So, maybe quickly let's hear the Special Prosecutor briefly and return to the studio.
The following persons with various corruption and corruption-related offences before the end of November 2025. 1. Kenneth Nanayao Ofori-Atta, former Minister of Finance. 2. Ernest Akori, Chef de Cabinet to Kenneth Nanayao Ofori-Atta as Minister of Finance. 3. Emmanuel Kofinti, former Commissioner General of Ghana Revenue Authority. 4. Amishadai Owusu-Amwa, former Commissioner General of Ghana Revenue Authority. 5. Isaac Krenzel, former Commissioner of the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority and General Manager of Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. 6. Kwejo Damwa, former Commissioner of the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority and Member of Parliament for Jam and South constituency. As part of the process, the OSP will seek to recover the financial loss caused to the Republic from the persons listed above. Also, the OSP will recover a total amount of 125 million cedis from SML by way of a disgorgement of unjust enrichment of overpayment by the return of the benefit of this amount it obtained unfairly at the expense of the Republic. This amount was arrived on 2 considerations. First, the participation of SML in the public revenue assurance regime was based on largely undeserved automatic payments detached from performance. Second, the figure was adjusted on a quantum meru basis.
Right. So we start with you, and we have to be brief because we have under 30 minutes for this. Suleimana, you caused all this. This is the fourth estate. The SML have issued a statement in response to the special prosecutor, and they say he's damn wrong. All the things he's talking about, they are unfounded. They point us to GRA that in the course of all the brouhaha issued a confirmation that they had actually brought, a revenue increase as a result of the work that they were doing, confirming portions of the KPMG report, which the special prosecutor now rubbishes, and so on. So,
well, Samson, I think to start with, it's important. When I saw the report, the publications online attributed to GRA, and that was, I think, a day before the OSP's press conference, I was quite intrigued, and because those publications were essentially saying that GRA says the SML's contract is delivering, and essentially saying that the state is benefiting. Not too long ago, I made a point that Ghanaians need to know that the current GRA commissioner was, I should say, the senior-most person on the audit team that conducted the KPMG audit and made the findings. I think that I should commend President Akufo-Addo for the decision that was taken to appoint KPMG to do the audit, and subsequently terminating the aspects of the contract that were yet to start, the upstream petroleum and the minerals revenue assurances component. Of course, the rest were, conditional, that GRA may do this or may do that, and so on and so forth. So it is important for the public to know that Mr. Anthony Sapong, who is now the GRA commissioner appointed by President Mahama, was part of the team that did the KPMG audit when the story first broke, or when President Akufo-Addo commissioned that audit. And so for me, it was quite curious that GRA now issues a statement to sort of suggest that there wasn't anything wrong with the KPMG contract, when the current GRA commissioner was part of the audit team that pointed to a lot of wrongs, including, the non-adherence to the public procurement processes. For 3 consecutive times, public PPA says no, and yet eventually the contract gets awarded. There was no approval by the GRA board, and yet the contract gets done. And of course, the fundamental question to ask is, at the time that the SML was being awarded the contract, what was their experience in revenue assurances in the downstream petroleum sector and all of that? None, nothing. In fact, this is a company owned by a timber merchant. And if you look at the ORC, the Office of the Register of Companies documentation about SML, this is a company that is dealing in general commodities, trading, import and export of general goods, and then there is a bit of it that says auditing. So there was nothing to suggest that this is an entity that has any experience in the services that they were procuring. That was when they were incorporated in 2017, February. Yes, but even as SMEL. Even as at the time we were doing the story and we went for the data on the company SML, those were still, the areas of their expertise or what they were into. And yet, they get sole sourced without PPA approval, without the approval of the GRA board, only to later get ratified by PPA. And then initially gets imposed on, West Blue as a subcontractor. I don't think that anybody needed to convince anyone that this must be a company that is so powerful, that you get a multi-million CD contract, sole sourced, without experience, no PPA approval, no board approval. So that for me is a fundamental point that should let everyone know that there must be something curious about this. Is the special prosecutor being fair, or a suspicion that may not be fair when he says that
Oforiatta takes office in January of 2017. And then in less than 2 weeks or so, the company gets incorporated by the timber merchant, so to speak. And then in a matter of about, 3 months, then they get sole sourced for this job, where all the experts have said they never stood a chance. But when he says Oforiatta must have, all he's saying, you could see that he's trying to suggest that he was the man behind the incorporation of this company just to milk us, to get money where you haven't done any work. But the PPA, they rejected this company a number of times.
3 times.
The time that they then go and get a ratification, does it not suggest to you that they had done their homework well, and that's why they got the ratification? Instead of looking at that to say it's a criminal process, Oforiatta forced them, GRA commissioners were forced by Oforiatta and so on.
Well, I think, I don't know as much as the OSP would know, given the investigations that they have done, entities coming together to conduct this operation. But I think that right from the beginning, there were a lot of curious instances of coincidence. Example is the time the incorporation was done. Another example is the MD of SML, as of 2019, was the technical advisor to the GRA commissioner. Then GRA gives a contract to SML in 2020. And then the technical advisor moves to become the MD of this company that has now gotten a contract without PP approval and all of those things.
So Christian Tetesoti is in GRA.
Yes.
And then
as a technical advisor.
And then the company gets a contract.
Yes.
Then he becomes the manager of the company.
He becomes the MD of the company.
And it's possible we want somebody from GRA.
Yeah, he had gone on retirement as controller and accountants general, comes to, become the technical advisor to...
This cannot be mere coincidence.
No, well, I'm saying that's why I use the word curious instances of coincidence. Multiple instances of coincidence that are quite curious. The incorporation, the time that, the contract is awarded, who moves from the GRA as a technical advisor to now become the company that has now gotten the contract. The company has no experience. As at the time the story was being done, GRA was the only client to this company. So and obviously when we did the interviews, my colleagues did the interviews, asked the man about the kinds of things that they claim they were doing on their own website.
Yeah.
The MD says, I don't know anything about that. No, we don't do those things. Then he's told, but those things are on your website. He says, well, I don't do anything on website. Curiously, the next day or after, the website is wiped with that information.
Or the afternoon after the...
Yes, that information is then taken out.
That wasn't...
We are told that this is a company that is saving the country 3 billion, cedis as a result of the interventions. The MD is asked.
Front page.
Yes, front page, daily graphic. The MD is asked about this 3 billion because the data available didn't point to any 3 billion. Then he says, oh, what I know is 1 billion. I don't know about any 3 billion. So quite clearly.
People could misspeak.
Well, but in fact, the IT officer who said he did the presentation, then whispered to Christian Tetesoti to say that, oh, well, if the media reported 3 billion, it must have been a mistake. Then they are told, but if the media got it wrong, the 3 billion is on your website. The media couldn't have come to put the 3 billion on your website. Then Tetesoti says, oh, I don't know anything about 3 billion. So quite clearly, this was a deal that was made. And I would agree with the OSP in saying that this couldn't have been just a normal procured contract. And if you look at the amount of money involved, and then in the investigations, it was clear that whatever SML said they were doing, the state agencies were doing it. So even GRA officials were surprised. So during the interview, a GRA officer says, I would want you to get the SML officer to clarify whether indeed they are involved in issues of diversion of fuel, dilution of fuel, and all of that as they claim they do. And so that was the first question put to the MD. Then the MD says, no, we don't do that. You know? So GRA was doing some of the things that they had claimed they were doing. MPA, we interviewed Mustafa Hamid. Mustafa says, I'm shocked that another entity will say they are doing this because these are things that the MPA is doing. And for example, in terms of revenue assurance, we have systems in place that if you are an OMC who owes, you can't even lift. You know, beyond that, every increment is then attributed to SML. That, oh, it's because of SML that we have had an increment, you know, in the oil liftings, which is not true. Because if you look at the MPA data year on year, there is an increment. In fact, there is a story that we are looking into. If you look at the 2024 volumes, it's almost like quadruple, you know, or triple the number the previous year. And we are saying, what happened? What could have caused this major jump between 2023 and 2024? And in fact, this new regime came in, and they are, you know, if you look at the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter volumes, it's almost a build-up on the 2024 volumes. And we are saying this is not normal. So these are things that we are looking into. So I perfectly agree with the OSP, and I commend them for the comprehensive work that has been done that basically affirms all that we had discovered. And of course, you know, colleagues Manasseh, Evans, and Ajua, you know, did a diligent job, and subsequently the petition filed to them. And
they also have guys at the Africa Energy Policy.
You mean ASEP?
Yes, ASEP.
Africa Center for Energy Policy.
Yes.
Yes.
What's his name?
Bemboache and co.
Yeah, because I remember the documentary.
Yes.
These are the guys who were speaking.
Yes.
I remember the foremost tax experts, as a tax procurement expert.
Yes.
Kwesi Bedu, yeah. Yes. They all spoke.
Yes.
Atabedu.
And all of them say.
But you see, the claims that you made, which the OSP does even a deeper research into, investigations into, the SML is disputing some of them. For example, when you say, because at the initial stages, they took they were submitted for sole sourcing 3 times to PPA and they were rejected. That's why they changed their name from SMEL to SML as a way of confusing the system and to get the contract. They say that's not what they did. All they were doing was just brand sort of enhancement. So they didn't do it to trick anybody.
Well, I think the OSP makes that point. But in the story that was done by the Fourth Estate, that point is never made, that they had to rebrand in order to qualify for the PPA approval. In any case, I don't think that the approval processes is about name. It's really about capacity, experience, and all of that. And of course, at that time, PPA would have been questioning, what is the experience of this company to be sole sourced for this kind of job? And that is why consistently they were disapproved. And then, of course, the powers that be allowed such a contract to be signed. And I was quite surprised that even on the basis of the KPMG audit, I think that the president ought to have, basically authorized for a termination of the entire contract.
You mean
President
Akufo-Addo?
Yes. Because the infractions
he terminated about 2 of them.
No,
those that have not yet started.
Yes, they hadn't started. So what was the point?
Because you, in the documentary, made the point that in that regard, they are also going to earn money, get money for no work done.
Yes.
In our minerals, sector, gold and other mineral sector. And then he stopped it. So that was good. So
the point was that based on the downstream petroleum sector work that is being done and the amounts of money that being paid, over 24 million, every month, and all of that. We thought, look, if this was a scheme that is not delivering any value for money, why should we now add on upstream petroleum and the mineral royalties, revenue assurance to the same entity? Essentially, the same thing happening downstream is going to happen upstream and in the mineral sector. And of course, it hadn't started, so the president terminated.
Okay.
There's even an argument about whether this required parliamentary approval because it was a multi-year contract.
KPMG had recommended that they should seek parliamentary approval.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I don't think happened.
The OSP says, look, once they made all these wrongs, let's not go and seek a belated approval. Within the NDC, the suggestions have been, this was a subtle ejapa. If you don't get the mineral royalties through the ejapa deal, get a company to pipe in into, what do they call it, whatever enhancements that they were doing.
Revenue assurance.
Revenue assurance. And then you literally do nothing, but every month you get paid from our mineral royalties. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I'll come to that, but I want to address something which, to help my brother, shed light on this. Fantastic work done with your team. But I think in speaking, I just want to be fair to individuals here. In speaking, you make cursory mention of the current GRA boss, Mr. Anthony Sapon, that he was the senior-most KPMG partner at the time when this was done. Juxtaposing that with the current GRA statement, there is a vast difference between an individual and an institution, right? And you also commend President Akufo-Addo, actually, for engaging KPMG. So when his name keep coming in without a real contextualization of who he was, what role he played, because also being a senior-most member or partner of a Big Four audit firm does not mean you have a direct involvement in an audit process. So I'm quite wary as to how we drop in. It's a big platform. Let's be fair.
I think that is because we don't have time.
Let's be fair.
Really don't think that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, let's be fair. Anthony Sapon is not here. But if we, I'm picking them from how the name is dropped and the linkages that are being made.
Okay.
So let's be fair to that.
We have very little time. So
maybe at the right time you can. Yeah, but this is not. But I think that we have to be fair to various individuals and remove them from institutions and in their individual capacities and roles they've held.
Laughing.
Okay, so then moving on, from our perspective, you even look at the date of incorporation, probably, of SML, right? The date of incorporation and its core mandate, it just tells you what it was created to do. Now you look at the individuals that the OSP is mentioned from his podium.
Ofori-Atta is not on the board of SML.
No, I'm not coming.
So that is
No. Apart from, look, Samson, where I'm coming to, let me drop.
You said the date of incorporation. If you go to Registrar General, you don't see Ofori-Atta.
No, I'm not saying you see it. I'm just saying
that Ofori-Atta comes into government in January.
No.
And in 2 weeks, the company is set up. And then in 3 months, they come for sole sourcing.
Samson, it's not about being on the board of...
Go ahead.
The supervising ministry of the GRE is the finance ministry. So if we are seeing names, there's a certain correlation in how things are. And two ex or former GRA bosses, including the head of customs, have been mentioned in this. We're not all saying they are guilty whatsoever. We're just looking at the connection. So if you have a supervising ministry, which is the finance ministry, that's the supervising ministry for the Ghana Revenue Authority, then it makes interesting meaning as to the connection and linkages as to how this all came about.
Is it not the same argument you make about institution and individual?
Yes, of course. And I stand by it, and I can break it all down here.
We don't have time to proceed quickly.
Yes. It's the same argument, and I still stand by that. So we say supervising ministry of an agency. I didn't say supervising auditing firm and an individual. Because I say supervising ministry.
To the substantive point.
So you look at it, and then you say, okay, well, what was this? All of what has been uncovered, as you would see, it takes another president to cancel this. President Mahama has made a decisive statement based on what has come up. But you look at all of these in terms of revenue assurance issues. I have severally on this platform even said, because left to me alone, from where I sit, KPMG shouldn't have been engaged to do this. The Auditor General, you could see the quality of forensic audits coming out in recent times. Tells you the capacity of the office of the Auditor General. So left to me alone, from where I sit, the Office of the Auditor General could have done this, rather than even engaging KPMG.
I think Imani made that point earlier.
Left to me alone. And today we are being vindicated by the quality of forensic audits that are emanating or being churned out from that office or that institution or state institution. So you move on to see all of this and the decisive step President Mahama has taken to cancel all of these contracts. But again, that brings us to the point of this quality assurance or revenue assurance issues that we give to third-party corporations when we have state agencies. GRE in and of itself, if you can't embark on a simple, revenue assurance, why do you exist as a state agency or a state institution? Because you have trained personnel, right? You should have even had a whole department. If you don't, maybe they do, I don't know, on quality or revenue assurance. Should we need to be giving this to third parties? Value for money. I mean, OSP say, let's not even go there, right? The amounts of monies we pay or the percentages they take. Mind you, I think their predecessor is it West
Blue.
Is it West Blue? Mm-hmm. Yeah, West Blue was probably involved in this. You could see how West Blue made a killing. I'm not saying it's a wrong thing, even with ports revenue assurance issues. You juxtapose this to the amount that's spent because, look, they take it based on commission basis. And that's a lot of money. Imagine if that came to the state. Whereas you are employing officers, we are employing chartered accountants, we are employing, revenue assurance officers.
The president was rather swift
in
directing the termination.
Well,
was he waiting for this?
Well, I'm sure he's been properly briefed on what it is, and he was getting daily briefings on how it was going. And to say, okay, well, we had the...
By the contracts, there are obligations if you terminate in this manner.
Yeah, but I'm sure proper advice came from the Office of the Attorney General in how it should go about.
Okay. Right. Yes, Richard.
Something. I struggle. Then there was the Attorney General, press conferences, indicting people, calling people names, almost supposing they have committed a crime. The special prosecutor on the same run. I worry something. The due process is not a loophole for the corrupt or the lawbreaker. It's not. It's the foundation of justice. So when we go out there and we aim at due process in a manner that we are, just simply because we want to fight corruption, which we all support. And so on the altar of that, we sacrifice all processes that must be accorded to the individual. Our Constitution provides for it. Article 19 says that you presume anybody innocent until proven guilty. But today, the due process is seen as a loophole. So we must abridge it, we must set it aside, and then go for, media trials. That's what we're seeing. But I believe it's not a loophole. It is the basis of our justice system. So we should grant it. Yes, you have a case. You have evidence and whatnot. Bring them, go to court. Why do we need to sit in a press conference for an hour and so many to listen to evidence that must be tested in court? The special prosecutor, we have seen him in many instances where he has yelled from the rooftops about people. They have done this, they have done. Is this still not the legal system that we have? Why hasn't he convicted anybody? We haven't seen that. But meanwhile, people's characters have been assassinated. Madame Cecilia Dapa lost her job because of that. He's going up and down because somebody's money here, money there. In the end, what happened? I want corruption to be fought, but let's do it according to the law. SML, like you said rightly, they have come back to say that all the things he said, they don't understand where it's coming from. They disagree, but he has convicted them. Okay, we are here supposing that they are corrupt people. Okay, I think that we should hasten slowly. Fourth Estate, I commend you, fantastic. What you're doing is a good investment, a good input. We should encourage more of that. This government, we have seen signs up and down. Please engage there. Let's point where there are corruption. Let's do it. It's a good job you're doing. I'm not any day...
So you can trust Sule on that.
No. I'm not any day going to undermine what they are doing.
No one...
But I'm just saying that we should allow the laws to work. The processes... In fact, I remember President Akufo-Addo, I think, is that the first or second press encounter he had, where a question about prosecuting people from the previous administration, pressure here and there, why are we not seeing prosecution and all that? And he talked about due process being such an interesting thing that when you are at the receiving end, okay, you find it a comfort that it must be extended to you. So it's an essential component of our justice system. We must accord it to everyone and ensure that at the end of the day, everybody.
One of the accusations is actually that the special prosecutor has taken too long. They have delayed this, and they sat there and watched for Ken Ofori-Atta to even leave the country and start now running after him for extradition, all of that.
Yeah, but I'm sure you are not the one saying that. Those who are saying that are the hawks on the fringes, okay, from the NDC who are yelling up and down. I just told you about President Akufo-Addo's case, where people in our party were saying that let's see the people prosecuted. But then Akufo-Addo was minded to say that, look, we must do it according to law. I expect President Mahama to do the same. And I don't have any evidence to suggest that the president is interested in abridging people's rights. But the entities, their overzealousness and their desire to be seen on big screen, to be seen to be doing some work, is leading them
so what
to
you are saying
abridge
now,
people's rights.
and what you have said all along is circumspection in the press conferences that they hold.
Yes.
Before they charge.
Absolutely. The process, even that, you don't need that press conference. Go to court. The essence of their work is to recover, if any, of these assets and monies that they are mentioning. The essence is to bring those resources back to the state. We don't want to hear it. You hear about this oral thing where Domelevo, the former Auditor General, is saying that they receive a lot of garbage in the process. Okay? We are not interested in the garbage. We are interested in the substance. After the people have been convicted, then we know that we are getting this money back, or the people are punished to serve as a deterrent for other people not to go in the same direction. So everything they are doing is formatting, is optics. We are not interested in the optics. You didn't promise us optics. You promised us a certain deliverable. We are not seeing
what are
that.
the optics?
We are engaging in press conferences.
Let me take a minute's comment from
Dr.
Osai Kwapong, because our time is up. I can see Sule about to put his hand up. Yes, Doc, I'm very sorry, but we have just about a minute to go. And I was mentioning that, like you said, just go to court, and all this delay. It has taken, for 2024, this was going on. Why is it that Ken Ofori-Atta was not arrested and all of these? We have heard them suggest that when Ken Ofori-Atta was in power, they couldn't do this investigation the way they have done. They couldn't get all the support from the GRA and all the other places in the manner they have done now. What do you say?
So I share in the sentiment that you want to respect due process, and you want to make sure that you're following all the legal processes and you're going to court and all of that. But I've regularly said, and I've even said this on your platform before, that the anti-corruption fight is also not just legal. There's a public aspect to it. And for me, whether it's the OSP's revelations or the revelations from the Attorney General, it is illustrating to us that we are at a crossroads where there's the need to take a look at our institutions and find ways to begin to restore some faith, trust, and confidence back in these institutions. Because regardless of the alleged crimes that have been committed or not, even when you look at some of the evidence that is being shared with the public, it gets you to ask yourself, what is it about the internal controls of our institutions that even allows some of these things to go through to the point where it becomes, a case of alleged corruption or malfeasance in public office. And I think for me, that is what the public piece at least is doing for me, which is it is forcing us to really take a look at our institutions and say, there's something that is amiss that we need to start doing, even beyond the legal aspects of these cases.
Prof, forgive me, but I'm told that I have to close at this point. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And Prince Henry Nkoforidua says that I think we should support the Attorney General to help bring state looters to book. I believe with our support, the Attorney General will deliver and Ghana will be better for all of us. Thank you. Dr. John Osai Kwapong is Democracy and Development Fellow, CDD Ghana. He's Executive Director, the Media Foundation for West Africa, who has the investigative project, that is the Fourth Estate. Richard Ahiagba is Director of Communications of the NPP. Dr. Sharif Mahmoud Khalid is Economic Advisor to the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini. Have a good afternoon.